Okay. Hello, Martyn from... Oh, see, this I should have asked you right away. I have a tough time to pronounce the name of your band, but you can do this right now.
Yeah.
And can you please introduce yourself to the audience and say who you are, what you do in your band, and where you're coming from music-wise, kind of, because your music is quite accomplished as I see it, but there's not much of it. So I guessing there is some other steps you took where to get where you are right now. So just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Martyn Price. I'm from Nottingham in England, which people only know because of Robin Hood. So
yes, of course.
I'm from the band Amphisbaena, which is a mythical two-headed serpent with a head on either end. The name came about because previously I'd been working on some solo tracks, and one of the tracks itself was called Amphisbaena, and that project didn't take off, but the name always stuck in my head. So I adopted that as the name of the new project, and as with most things, you have to title everything now. So I had to launch a Facebook page and whatnot. And once you've done that, that's your name. So
yeah. This is a little bit my problem with you, and we're going to talk about this, because usually I do a little bit of research before I get into such a talk, because, I want to know a little bit so that I can have some question. I told you just right now that it's not an interview, but I want to know a little bit what I can find out about you, and there's not much about you. So there is your Facebook page, but unfortunately I'm not on Facebook, so this is kind of not there for me. And a lot of videos and some, no, not a lot, but some collaboration videos you did with someone, done crawling, somebody reimagined.
That was Nicole Willerton.
Nicole
Willerton.
Nicole Willerton.
Yeah.
Nicole Willerton. So can you say a little bit more about, I mean, only if you want, of course, a little bit more about you and where you're coming from? Because as I understand it, Amphisbaena is also a solo project from you, or is it a band?
Yeah. I write all of the music and record the majority of it. I can't sing. If I try to sing Angels Fall from the Sky and Burn on the Ground, it's horrible. So I've always looked for singers that I like from projects that I've seen online, and then I'll approach those people and ask if they want to work together. I approached Nicole first, and we did Done Crawling and Teeth. And then we did, I also did a track called Your Friends Online. And I always look for singers. Teeth also has a guy called Benjamin Elton on bass guitar.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else is me. And the new track, which is being released in 2 weeks, will have a guy called Ben Gaines on drums.
Mm-hmm.
I only work with men called Ben, apparently. I've tried working with non-Bens and it just doesn't work.
I see. You still have not really answered my question, is where you come from music-wise, because I like Teeth, for example. That's one of my favorite from you. It's a really cool song, and I know, of course, that you have not fallen from the sky. There is some. You don't come out with this thing when you just start up. So there is a backstory from you, and I would still like to know where you're coming from music-wise. Your stepping stones to get to the point where you are now.
There was a lot of sort of punky bands in my teens originally, and then a lot of attempts to sound like Tool, because they're my favorite band. A lot of attempts to sound like Tool, in fact, one of the projects was called Bethlehem Abortion Clinic, and that was from the inside of the Tool album. That's a fake album on the inside of the Onoma album by Tool.
Okay.
They had a fake back catalogue inside, and that was one of the albums. And then there was a big gap where I was mostly just playing and recording for myself, because it's hard when you don't sing yourself to really, you can't ever progress past a certain point without a vocalist, unless you be Godspeed You Black Emperor or Mogwai. And I'm not anywhere near as talented as either of those two bands. So there was a big gap, and then I started recording this around when lockdown started. When everybody locked down, and there was so much spare time, I thought I'm either going to spend time sitting, getting fat and lazy, or I can sort of give myself a task.
Yeah, you don't look fat, so you avoided this at least.
My head, it'll be in my legs.
No, but yeah, I was actually, you know, as I was looking at your catalog, it's like you have like 4 songs out so far, as I see it, right?
Yeah.
And they all started 2020, so it was like, okay, yeah, this is very recent, but you're doing quite well for just, you know, 4 songs out. You have a large audience, so you're doing well. And this is, you know, this was why I wanted to know, because you're not falling out of the sky. There was some backstory before that, you know, because your music is too good to just that you just have started out, you know, or somebody tinkering on its phone or something. And so was it a deliberate decision to not have a singer, a permanent singer, or was it just because you could not find a person who really clicked with you?
I think partly deliberate in the sense that I still think it's there's no fixed sound as of yet, and I want to commit to a singer with it, as I'm the one writing everything. If I commit to a singer and then decide, hang on, I'd like to take this side step and try this style, I then have to sort of sack that singer.
I see. I see.
Whereas at the moment, while everything's sort of amorphic and changing and things, I sort of, it's easier for me to sort of say, this is going this way, I'm going to pick this vocalist, and I'm going to work with that vocalist. For example, the next song has a male vocalist, which is the first track that's had a male vocalist. And it stops me having to work within parameters that have been determined, which is helpful, because at the moment, project isn't determined. So I'm not, before I sort of fix into a mold, I'd like to know that it's a mold that has all the directions I'd like to push myself in.
Okay, no, I completely, in a way, it gives you, I mean, music itself is freedom, you know, there is no wrong or right, there is just what you like and what you don't like and what you can achieve, of course, you know, like you said, you know, Tool is a certain level hard to get. So in a way, it's kind of your freedom. You choose whatever you need for this song. But how do you decide that? You know, I mean, now you have a male singer, and before it was female singers. How do you go about that? Do you have it already planned in your head, or does it just happen while you write it?
Often I have things planned in my head. But the way that something, I will sit down, for example, the newest one, which will be called Court Jester, is I sat down to write a specific style of song, but what I actually wrote was nothing like what I intended to write. And as that was sort of forming, I could hear in my head that the style of vocal I would want would be a kind of Mike Patton, Faith No More style vocal.
Oh, yeah. Cool. I'm a big Faith No More fan.
Yeah, I think anybody with good taste in music has to appreciate Mike Patton.
Mike Patton is crazy. Yeah. I mean, anyway, I'm swooning.
And I knew that would be difficult for a female singer to achieve. And I also didn't want to be pigeonholed as always using female singers. So I approached a guy, and he demoed for it, and it worked really well. And it's like, sort of to answer the actual question, I think very often I sit down to write a certain style of song, end up writing a completely different style of song, and then I take a day away from it. When I come back, I have more of an idea of what kind of vocal it will need, and then pick from the sort of the colours of vocalists that I have to paint with. If that makes sense.
And you know, I get it. You know, it's kind of, I know this process as also because, you know, you kind of inspired for whatever comes in your mind, and you oh yeah, I want to do something, and then it takes it alive on its own, and it goes somewhere else, and it's fine. You know, it's that's the cool thing with music. And I guess, I mean, you said you had played in other bands. Usually it's like when you go into a rehearsal space and then you jam it out. You know, you kind of, somebody brings a riff, and then comes a drum, and you know, and then things happen. So, but this is also okay. I have two or three questions in my mind. Let's go through them. One issue is, you partially answered it already. One issue for a solo musician, as I see it, is usually to find an endpoint to something, you know, because in a band you have the benefit that somebody says, okay, yeah, no, I can only play that, and you know, sometimes it ended, you know, let's kind of, and here you can go on and on and on and change something. Oh, maybe the drum's a little bit different, and so how do you find your endpoint? Maybe start with this question.
Often because I send all of my things to be mixed and mastered by a guy called Ben Gaines at Abbey Lane Studios, and he,
Abbey Lane Studios.
Not the Abbey Lane Studios.
Oh, okay. Okay, it sounds like Abbey Lane's.
Yeah, his girlfriend is called Abby, and I think he might be named.
Okay, clever. He play on words, basically.
So a lot of the time, because I personally could just keep tweaking and doing a sort of Axl Rose on Chinese Democracy for the next 20 years.
Exactly.
I think if I make the sort of the kick drum a little bit louder, and so I send it to him, and it's often just out of being able to take my hands off the track and say, okay, he's got it. When he thinks he's done mixing it, he'll send it back to me, and then we're done. If it was me mixing my own stuff, I think it would go on forever.
But see, you still, how do you get to the point that you send it to him then? You know, because even then, this is kind of, you have, like you said, you know, you started in because of a lockdown, so you have infinite time basically to work on whatever you want. So you set yourself, you know, some borders that you kind of, okay, 2 weeks and then I send it or something like this.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I'm learning more as I go along, working on my own. If you listen to the first one, which was My Friends Online, that's like nearly 7 minutes long. It has a bunch of different sections. The intro lasts for nearly 2 minutes and then never happens again. Things sort of, and I was going for a Tool sound, but there's a very specific skill set that Tool have to be able to make 13 minutes interesting. And it's not one that a lot of people have. And that was an example of, I had infinite amount of time. Nobody was saying to me, this needs to be done for them. And that song is the longest song that I've done. The newer one, the most recent one that will be coming out in January, hopefully, is under 4 minutes. And I think I'm sort of learning as I go along that what you don't play is as important as what you do play.
Yep. No, I'm absolutely with you. It's kind of, there's a certain, okay, maybe we can talk about Tool also, but what I see, a certain skill set comes when you also use the gaps in the music. You know, you don't overstuff it, you know, so you let it breathe a little bit. And also, like, okay, let's talk about Tool. By Tool, it's kind of, for me personally, it's they kind of have the rock band approach with, I don't know, with something else, because the rock band, what I really like is if you have a cool riff, you can stand on the riff for 1 minute, 2 minutes and just rock it out, and they have it. But they also have these experimental stuff what they put in, and it morphs into something else. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I listen to their music and I like them. I remember as their first album came out. What was it? Sober was my was the hit song or something, and with the video it was like, what is this? This was so. It was kind of so strange, but appealing. And anyway, I guess we're both fanboys. We don't need to talk about Tool. But my point is, I cannot really put my finger on what Tool has extra, what makes it so special, because they're doing rock songs in a way, really well done rock songs, but also very experimental. But still have this rock approach where they kind of stand on a can for an extended part play one riff, or I don't know how to say it. It's always seems to be evolving. So yeah, this is quite.
They're very clever with time signatures in the sense that they'll go off and have, say, 2 minutes where they go into some really odd time signature that makes you feel off kilter and a little bit odd, and then they always say, for example, Numa drops back for the chorus, drops back into 4/4. So they'll take you off somewhere, and just when you're starting to think, okay, I get it, you're jamming, I'm enjoying it, but get on with it. Then they'll drop back into a 4/4. So they know how far to push your attention span and then pull you back to something that's secure and where you are with a solid riff or a pentatonic riff or.
Yeah, so you're right. This is kind of more the mainstream kind of thing, to kind of get the normal audience, basically, what the audience is used to. And anyway, so yeah. The other question I had in my mind is, how do you find the musicians to work with? Because you haven't given us much of your backstory, but I'm not going to push you anymore. But I guess you know a few musicians, so I don't know, how big is Nottingham?
It's difficult to know what to equate it to. It has a good music scene, good musical presence there. There's a lot of finding people on Facebook. Existing friends. Ben, the bass player, I've known Ben since I was 17, and he's just a friend who knew I was working on something, wanted to be involved. I found vocalists before on Fiverr, which I like because it takes a lot of the social awkwardness out of using, because it turns the relationship into a service. It's much more comfortable to say to the person, do this differently, I don't like the way you did that, change this, and feels more genuine than forming a friendship with somebody because you want to work with them and then feeling awkward because you're being a little bit sort of pushy with the way you want something to sound. That would make me feel like a bit of an asshole. It's easier to just say, look, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and have it be a service that's being provided. But mostly it's people that I know on Facebook. Yeah, friends from Facebook.
Okay. So, I mean, you just said there's a new song coming out. So, do you have any goal besides having time to do it? Do you want to reach something? Do you want to get to a label? I mean, you're doing quite well. I told you this, and I found you, and I mean, you found me. I think this was Submit Hub exactly. So I will do. Whenever I like something, I will do my best to promote it. So what's your goal with it? Because I mean, I like your approach because you're kind of absolutely free. You can do whatever you want to do, but it also makes it. There is no live show capabilities because you cannot have 5 singers. For so what do you where do you want to go with it? If you have a goal, if not, just make it for fun. That's absolutely fine as well.
I think obviously at the moment we're living in really
unusual times. Yeah, but I hope it will get better.
Yeah, hopefully eventually. If we're not living on the ocean on floating rafts. But yeah, ideally, if gigs are back for next summer, I'd like to have a gigging band together and a solid lineup. In terms of the immediate future, trying to make sure that every song gets slightly more of a foothold, and more views on YouTube, more views on Facebook, things like that. So that I'm not going backwards, and so that I have solid feet under me for when I do put a gigging band together. Which, as I say, I'm hoping we can gig again for next summer. But who knows at the moment?
Yeah, no, it's hard to predict. I just wanted to know because, it's absolutely fine if you just say, this is just my kind of homemade project and just want to, do it for recording because, I talk with a lot of different artists and some are really just like, no, we don't want to play live. We want to just do it for the studio and put it out. And, but I always, for me, the live thing is kind of the best part of the music, to kind of present it to someone and get a immediate feedback and you see, what's going on and also how to present it. And, this is also a thing with you. Maybe we talk about, you seem to have a certain style. As I was, looking at Teeth, it was really like Marilyn Manson inspired for me, this was kind of what came to mind. And this is also the fun if you have a live show, you can kind of put on your stage show.
There's definitely a visual element to it. And I think there has to be. I think even if you don't have a style, your style is not having a style. if you go on stage, like I was very, very late to it. It was over before I was sort of old enough. But my first bands that I was into were grunge bands. That was very much you walk on stage in what you were wearing on the street. But it's still a style because whatever you present to the audience is going to be accepted as the style. So no style is still a style. There's no vacuum there.
Yeah, good point.
And I do enjoy the visual element of it. And I've found with promotion as well, Facebook and YouTube, if I put a video up, I can put a video up that's a song I've spent an hour putting to an accompanying video. And if it doesn't have a face on it, it will get 1,000 views. If it has a face on it, it gets 30,000 views. So people interact more with things that they can see the person behind, I think. And I think that is the same with live gigs. If they come and if they've seen you live and they like you, then you take more of a foothold in their sort of day-to-day life than if it's just something that they scrolled by on Facebook, because we get so much content now. People are spending 8-9 hours a day on their phone. They're not going to remember one of the videos they saw, but they'll remember the gig they went to.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, this is my hope as well. Once things are going, are open again, and the world comes out of a pause mode we are in right now, that people will appreciate live music much more again. It's so. I never thought I would miss it that much, but I miss it a lot. The congregation and being there. What I wanted to say, what I was thinking as you were saying, that even having no style is a style. That's a good point. I remembered what Lemmy from Motorhead said once, when people go to a show, they don't want to see the nice boy from their neighborhood. They want to see the rock star, and so give them the rock star and give them exactly what, we want. And I also see it as a little bit, you take the audience seriously, when you just like, with a normal T-shirt and go on. It's okay, the music, because I have other artists who say, no, the music should talk for itself. It's a point as well, but if you give them something to look at, and if you show them the appreciation that you kind of dress up for this occasion, like people go to an opera or something, when you show them you care a little bit more. And I like that, to take the audience seriously, to just show them, I'm here for some special purpose, and not just like, I came with my jeans and, let's do this gig and done.
And also it's just an opportunity missed, because
good point, yeah.
A live show is the visual, in the same way that a music video is the visual element to a song, or you can read a book or you can look at a painting, but when you read a comic book, you're getting the art and the literature at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I think a live show is very much like that. If you don't use the platform of the live show to present something, then you're consciously choosing not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's lazy.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity, like you said. It's kind of, and it's also, it's also the fun part of it, that you can dress up. I mean, this is a social accepted time and place where you can dress up a little bit. I mean, I see, how you look. I don't know what you're doing for a living, and so you don't have to tell that. That's a little bit an indiscreet question. But what I'm saying is like, when you can really overdress and kind of be big and whatever you want to do, have fake blood. I talked with an artist who kind of had like liters of fake blood always on stage and stuff. So, and that's the fun of it, and this is the accepted place to do it. So it would be stupid not to kind of let out your inner demons and play rampage. I mean, in certain boundaries, you know what I mean, This is an outlet you can use.
Henry Rollins once said, an interviewer asked him about Maynard James Keenan,
mm-hmm.
and is he the same person we see on stage, off stage? And Henry Rollins said, well, let me ask you this. Are you the same person during sex that you are talking to your mother?
Mm-hmm.
We're all different people in different scenarios.
Absolutely.
When you're on stage, it's you and potentially 20,000 people exchanging energy. When you're having sex, it's you and one other person exchanging energy. You're a different person in every element of your life.
Absolutely.
I'm a different person speaking to you now than I would be sat on the couch playing video games. It's just, and I think that gives you that, as you say, that license to be you amplified by 10. Act in a way that perhaps within the normal realms of society isn't. It wouldn't work at Lidl.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't walk around the supermarket, buy some milk, and start throwing it into the wall and jumping around and flipping everybody off. And I don't think I'd want to be like Gigi Allen, but definitely like definitely there's a performance element that will definitely come into it next year, I think.
You mean this year or next year? Like 2021? This year. Yeah, okay.
I'm living
it. You're living in the past. No, I see it as well. Exactly. This is kind of, I'm a husband, I'm a lover, I'm a worker, you have different roles to fill, and like I had exactly the same word in mind. You just amplify a certain facet of yourself when you're on stage, and people usually will love you for that. And then comes the other aspect that I think is also important. It's art, and the worst kind of art for me is art where you say, oh, it's nice. Either it's good to be really loved or hated, but if you just lukewarm and you're like nothing, then it really is nothing. It's kind of, then you can do elevator music and your music will be played in the shopping mall or whatever, because nobody gets offended by it. I don't mean you need to offend someone, because I also think sometimes, like young punk bands have this cheap trick, and it's not a trick, just offending just because of offending. That's I don't like that. But I guess you get my point. If no reaction comes from the audience, that's the worst thing that can happen. It's better to be booed out and that people throw stuff at you, because then they react to the things you do.
It's like the teeth video. When I put that on Facebook, I had a bunch of American Christians calling me demonic and saying that one guy said that he'd met demons and met Jesus and that we were demons. And my answer to him was, I said, why is this demonic? What about this is demonic? And in the comments thread. And he said, I don't like it. It's trash. And I said, well, art should cause an emotion.
Exactly.
But it doesn't have to be a positive emotion. That's something that's come to us through the TV age, that it's to placate us and keep us calm and happy or laugh. Or it doesn't have to be a positive emotion. It just has to cause an emotion. Some of the best paintings that have ever been painted are uncomfortable to look at. And as long as somebody has a strong opinion, as you say, about something, then you know that you've done something that has an impact. If somebody sees something and says, yeah, and then I'm not interested, but that's fine, then that would be more offensive to me than somebody saying to me, you're a demon, go away, or I hate you, or that's terrible. Kurt Cobain, not to compare myself to Kurt Cobain at all, but he famously, he completed a painting, and a reporter from Rolling Stone said to him, he said to the reporter from Rolling Stone, what do you think of this? And he wanted it to be uncomfortable. And the reporter said, I really like it. It's nice. I can imagine it being on a wall in my house. Yeah. So he tore it up. He tore the painting up because that wasn't what he wanted. It was designed to make you feel uncomfortable. And I think that's just as valid as art making you feel comfortable. It's just that people aren't as willing to be taken down that path as they are a comfortable one.
Yeah, I think, you touched on first of all, from my personal background, I always hated it if my mother said, oh yeah, that's nice, and because I know it didn't mean any, she didn't like it, but she didn't want it to say that. So this is kind of what reminded me of this. And so this is very valueless criticism. This doesn't mean anything, because like, woof, it's just hot air, nothing. And the other thing you kind of reminded me on is, or this is my personal perception, of course, that we are living in a time where it's either black or white. It's kind of. We just talk about that art needs to give you a reaction, but it doesn't need to be, very aggressive against it or very aggressive for it. I have a feeling, and this has nothing to do so much with music, but that we're living in a way it's either you agree or you disagree, but there is no middle ground. I think we're losing a little bit the way to talk with people where we don't agree, but we still can be friends. You see what I mean? It's either you're against something or you're for something, but there is no middle ground.
Yeah. I think I'm stealing a line from a film, but people now have beliefs rather than ideas. And I think a belief is something that somebody has set in stone and aren't willing to debate and develop. And an idea is something that, you're willing to say, right, well, this is my opinion. That's your opinion. Tell me why that's your opinion. And doing that from a position of being willing to say, my opinion can change. Whereas now most people, when they debate to prove their point. They don't
exactly. We are set in stone already before we go in.
Yeah, it's a belief, not an idea. And I think ideas are malleable. Beliefs are usually set in stone. It's also why I don't like organized religion. But
yeah, no. I really. I think it's so. We're losing a little bit of. I can only talk for myself, of course. For me, it's important if I have an idea in my mind to speak it freely, and often only when I say it out loud, I realize, while I'm saying it, it's really stupid. The idea is really stupid, and I can, but I need to say it, because if I just keep it in my head and just let it run there, it kind of it's never really proven out. And if you put it out and you have a good friend and says, Tobias, this is a really stupid idea, or have you thought about this? Then you can work on it, and then you can kind of get it to somewhere. If you just keep it in your head and never say it out loud, then you're just in a dead sea. You're only you never get any fresh impulses and stuff. You're in your bubble, basically. And
it's like the ego and superego with Freud.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I haven't thought about this, but I don't know too much about it. So, but I heard of it, so I'm not pretending that I really know how he meant it. But yeah, I guess we're not discovering some new problem. This is a problem the humanity had all the time, but it's a little bit amplified with all the bubbles we have right now. That you have the echo chambers where you just hear what you want to hear, and I think we're losing touch. We're losing the ability to see other points of view and learn something, And also, when I need to defend my position, I really have to learn to use good arguments, because otherwise it will fall flat. And
I think because people tend to have like-minded people on their friends lists on Facebook, and that's where the majority of conversations happen.
Mm-hmm.
They are preaching to a choir to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Their opinions are already similar to the people on their friends list, so they're not having the corners knocked off. It's not being sort of it's not changing as new information comes in and things like that, because everybody's already standing on the same rock shouting the same sermon. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, okay. Sorry, we got a little bit off. Let's go back to music. So we already talked about your influences, and we got the name. How do you say the name again in English?
Amphisbaena.
Amphisbaena. Okay, it's not so tough. Because for me there's like a AE, it's like an Amphisbaena, I want to say, but it's Amphisbaena. Okay. So we talked about this. Yeah, one question is, do you work on getting like a record deal or so? I mean, you're reaching out to labels or something, or how do you do your music promotion? Because you seem to do quite well. I'm impressed by you coming out of the gates swinging, basically.
I haven't approached. Well, I've spoken to a label who keep asking me to send the most recent one every time I do a new one, but I haven't sort of. I'm not sure whether or not it's necessary nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
If gigs were happening and there was a tour to be funded or a tour to be booked, then that may make one necessary. But at the moment, in the age that we sort of live, I don't think, for what I'm doing anyway, it would be like bringing a shotgun to a knife fight. It's not really necessary. I would look at it, but I mean, all of my promotion at the moment is literally just Submit Hub for one.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it the old-fashioned way and going on Spotify, finding a playlist that has a lot of followers, looking to see if I get lucky and the guy has the same name on Twitter as on Spotify, finding the curator and messaging them and saying, this is my track, can I get on there, please? A lot of, with Facebook, a lot, again, it sounds vain, but posting pictures on Facebook with your track, because a face will get more reactions than a track on its own will. But it's just been a lot of legwork on my part. If a record label approached me and they could offer me something I can't do myself, then obviously I would take them up on it. But until touring is a thing, I don't think it will be necessary. I can't see anything that I'm not getting at the moment that I would get from a record label.
Yeah, and this is the good thing and the bad thing of this time, because as we met through Submit Hub, and I'm a DJ there, and it's really cool that it's easy for independent artists to reach out and to get heard and to get recognition. But on the other hand, for me as a DJ, from the other side, sometimes it's really annoying because I get a lot of crap, because today everyone on his iPhone can make a track, and they do, and send it out and put it through DistroKid everywhere, and I have to wade through a lot of not so good stuff.
It's easier now to get to a certain level, but almost impossible to get much higher than that. There's a lot of bands, because there are so many bands, and it's very easy to put your own songs on Spotify, but Spotify is not going to make anybody any money. Sorry. I think I have 15,000 streams, and I have, and they paid me $17. So there's no money on Spotify. Because of the way that the industry is now, is CDs being a thing of the past and things. The only way to make money is to tour, I think. But record labels are getting wise to that, so now they want 50% of your tour money and your merch, everything else. So I think it's easy to get to a point where you're sort of Facebook famous. There are going to be very few bands who cut through and get to that sort of higher echelon of Metallica, sort of Faith No More, Tool. There'll be a lot less bands who get to that level, I think. Because if there's not as much money in the industry, then the labels won't invest as much money in the band. It's not worth it, because they can sign another band easier than they can spend more money on your band trying to get it big.
Yep. And a lot of bands, try, to promote themselves heavily. They take out ads and stuff, and so in a way they do everything what the label does, and then they sign to a label, and we work for the label, or even have to pay the label to get some extra recognition. So the tables are reversed a little bit in a way, but. So maybe let's talk about, because I just recently talked with a band who's in it for 15 years, and they played at Wave Gothic Treffen. I don't know if you know this, the biggest thing in Germany. It's the biggest festival for, you would fit in there perfectly. Check it out. It's the biggest one in the world. You should know. Wave Gothic Treffen, WGT, WGT. It's for short.
Oh yes. I
would kind of like, if you don't know that, then I don't know. I mean, and they got in the lineup. And I asked him, how did you get this? Because you cannot submit there, to, maybe a bigger band can, but we were a small band, and they get asked by it. So you're doing exactly the right thing. You kind of make yourself visible. You kind of make yourself accessible. The only thing I can tell you from my perspective, maybe get your own page, homepage or something where you can kind of channel everything a little bit better, because this was my issue when I tried to do some research on you. I found your YouTube clips, and I found your tracks, of course, on Spotify, but nothing really linked together, just a homepage or something. This would be easier as a starting point to get somewhere,
Cool.
Just my advice, but I don't, I'm not a profi here as well, so don't. So what do I want to say? No, anyway, so you're doing exactly the right thing, because just be out there and accessible. So and not wait for people to no, and then people will approach you. Sometimes it works that you can send stuff. I talked with a guy who got signed by Cleopatra, the label, where Ministry is, and all my big heroes, and he just sent his tracks there and never thought of it, and he got an email. Yeah, we sign you, and wow, it can happen, but as you said, you don't really need them, and you're doing quite well with whatever you're doing, and the more you do, and like it seems like you already know that you should put out something every, I don't know, month or so, that your followers get a little blip, and there's something new, and just check it out, and it will be in the release radar of Spotify, and so it accumulates, and I'm gonna play you in my radio show, and you're in my playlist now, and so they're maybe coming over a few more followers, and so it's the long road, and yeah, you actually coined a new phrase. I'm gonna remember, Facebook famous. It's quite easy to become not easy, but it's not so hard to become Facebook famous. But to get more out of it, that's the hard part.
It takes a lot more. I think people put too much importance on likes and hearts, and it takes 1 second to click a like or to put a heart, but it takes. That won't necessarily translate to somebody buying a ticket for a show, because that's a lot more effort. And as a currency, or as a way of registering how popular your music is, I don't think it's a very reliable way of doing it. Because I scroll through and I see a picture of somebody's dog and I like it, but I'm not going to buy a ticket to go look at their dog.
Exactly.
Same thing. It's much easier to do that than it is to actually go out of your way to see somebody play. So
to have a real interaction, also, that's by the way, that's a nice another thing. At the moment, no, but you could also do. Some bands do live streams or something, or have like a Twitch channel where you can talk with fans or something. Do you do this? Do you offer that?
I'm looking at Twitch at the moment. I've just set up a TikTok, but it is literally just short clips of the videos. The music video for the next track will be a live performance. The drummer Ben is videoing himself actually recording the track, and the singer already has recorded themselves recording the track, and I need to record myself doing the guitar, and then it'll be a sort of montage,
mashup, and stuff.
Mainly again because with the way society is at the moment, with social distancing and things, it's just not viable to get together and make a music video. So we're sort of by proxy. I think in 10 years you'll look back and see there'll be music videos that are aged by the fact that you can tell they were shot during social distancing. And so that's the way we're doing it. So I also think a human face draws more eyes than anything else with a music video. It has, in my experience anyway. I can put a video up of me playing anything on guitar and it will get more reaction than if I put a picture, if I put like a visualizer with the track. I think it's true of everybody. I think if somebody sees somebody else's face, you automatically your brain takes half a second to go, what's this? Before you flick on. But yeah, Twitch is something I'm looking at. It's something I'll be considering, definitely.
Yep. No, I have to admit, I'm not really. Twitch was some option for me in the past because a lot of the DJs where I'm, from my radio station, they did Twitch and streamed the music and they had a large following, and then they kind of clamped down on the copyright things. So and just before I wanted to go on Twitch, so that's why you see the green backdrop here. It was actually done for Twitch so that I can have special effects in the background, but I never used it. Because now we are really, clamping down there, and with my radio shows I stream now on YouTube. And I try not to play too big of a bands, because then I get copyright claims and it get taken off. So if I play smaller bands, like your music, you wouldn't mind to have it. I'm pretty sure in my radio show, in my lineup and stuff. So, but some others, they get sent a copyright claim and I have to take it off. So yeah. What do I want to say? I wrote down, you're doing exactly right. You do what you like, and that's the best thing. So I mean, this comes out of nowhere now, but I wanted to say it before, because that's also the important thing. Once you're getting out there live and people see that you really mean it, what you're that you're standing really behind your music and do what you like, then the reception is genuine. Is it the right word? Where real, it's people can see if you fake it or not, and maybe that's why it's also better if they see you. And now I remember what I wanted to say. So I know, of course, with the social distancing, it's quite impossible, but and I don't mind performance videos, but I really like if there's a performance part and a story part, because this is, where we talked earlier, when you have a stage show, you can, go 10 times more like you usually would go. And with if you have the opportunity to make a video, you can tell a little story. It doesn't need to be from the lyrics or something.
Narrative.
Yeah, I really like narratives too, because when I follow, if I just see the band playing, then I'm like, I mean, not at the moment, obviously. When I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see that when I see you live, So I'm not so interested in it. I like a story part when like we said earlier, when I can see they take it seriously and they wanna tell a story and kind of captivate the audience, a little movie. In it, and
it adds to the song as well. I think if it's just performance, you're just seeing the song, whereas often if you see a good music video afterwards, you appreciate the song more because it's added. It's sort of, like you say, you have the story or you have the meaning of the song, essentially. I always preferred sort of like Heart Shaped Box by Nirvana as one of.
Oh yeah, that's a great video.
Yeah, and I think because, again, it's just adding the visual element. There's no reason not to. You have the ability to add that, so why just keep it to the music? I mean, you wouldn't. In movies use music to create emotion around a scene and things like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I know at the moment there's quite limitations, and I guess once this all the bands have lifted and stuff, you will go and find because you seem to work with a lot of videographers, with different video artists, right?
Yeah, I've always worked with Serotonin Studios.
Oh yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Yeah, Serotonin. Yeah, Ryan at Serotonin's a friend. I've always worked with him, but it's sort of there's a lot of things we'd like to do, but the context of life at the moment, it's really difficult to be able to do it. You have and also budget. I mean, everybody is a case with a lot of things at the moment of aiming for the stars, and everybody's staring at the stars, but some of us hit the curb. It's like sort of if you aim. You can aim for the stars, and then at least you might get back onto the pavement. Whereas if you aim for the pavement, you may as well stay where you are. So there's a lot of things we want to do, and probably won't hit them. But if you don't try, then
exactly. No, think big. That's absolutely. I see it like, I guess you had this as well. People might laugh at you. Oh, you want to become a rock star and you want to do it. And so let them laugh. At least you have a dream and you have a goal and you're going somewhere and you're aiming for something. And, what if you once, lay on your deathbed and look back, it's better to have tried than not to try at all, because you will only regret the things you haven't done, and you will do a lot
on
of.
their deathbed because I wish I'd done less.
Exactly. No, nobody thinks on his deathbed, oh, I wished I would have watched more Netflix. I mean, there was this new series. I wished I would have finished this series on Netflix. This is stupid, I mean, yeah. So I don't know why people tend to, I'm a little bit older too, tend to lose their dreams when they get older. So why is that? I mean,
I was discussing this with a friend yesterday, actually. He was saying that a lot of the people he played in bands with in his teens don't play anymore. And I was saying I don't understand that, because if you weren't playing to enjoy, surely you were enjoying it when you were doing it. So why would you stop based on not? You very, very few people become Kurt Cobain and the voice of the generation. So when I generally write things and then I feel good about them regardless of the audience. So if I've written a song and I hear it back, that's what I'm going to get from that, whether or not everybody else hates it or not. If I hear it back and I like it, then I've done something, and in that sense, I'm my own audience. But if you get to a certain age and just decide, okay, well, when I was a teenager, I wanted to be playing to 80,000 people, and I got to 20 and it didn't happen, so I stopped playing, then I don't understand why you did it in the first place. Sort of like, and then I think those people become bitter and think it's childish to have those dreams.
And I guess we also, we want to kind of pound down on others because they lost their dream, and they're unhappy when others still have it and still have a spark and still are inspired, And I really don't know why that is, because I'm an artist myself, and I know I might not get anywhere, but why not trying? Why not doing it? So there's no point in not doing it. And if you, that's what was the point I wanted to do earlier. If you really like what you're doing, nothing is lost, because you do it, and not because I want to get to the masses and I want to be rich. I wouldn't mind, honestly, but it's kind of, I enjoy what I'm doing, and so if you
reward.
Exactly, the way is the goal. The way is the thing, and I just okay. This is about you and not about me, but I played with a guy once in one of my bands I played in before, and he joined now Heaven Shall Burn, and he played in front of 40,000 people in Wacken, the biggest, so it's possible, and he's just stuck with it, and he's going places, and so are others I met along the way, and I'm happy for them, and I don't see that's lessens my thing. I'm a nobody compared with them, but I'm doing things, and I wouldn't know why not. Just because I will never become famous or called Kurt Cobain or something, I can try at least.
Well, there's always you can always keep in the back of your head that some people aren't appreciated until they die.
Yeah, exactly. Become Van Gogh.
Somebody might pick it up one day and say, "This is amazing. Who was this?" And it's like, that was David from Sweden, and he's been dead 30 years, and becomes this big thing. It's always worth keeping that in the back of your head.
No, anyway, I don't see, because I see it, if you have this mindset, the world is not such a dark place anymore. I mean, doing a kind of dark music, and I like, dark music. I like gothic and industrial metal and stuff. So, but I'm a very positive person. So having dreams makes it positive too, because as this is not a straight line, and you go a lot of detours and you meet people along the way, but this is what life is about, to experience it and to be in there. And what you said earlier, I also just recently I decided because I was always like, oh, I want to have more followers and I want to have more this and that and kind of more likes and stuff, because when I get higher and now I consciously decided I do what I like. I like to talk with people and get to know people, like I told you, see behind the image, because your image is quite dark and I like it, but it's kind of, I don't know what to expect, I haven't talked with you before. And I'm doing what I like, and I will put this out, and maybe only 10 people will see this video, but hey, this is at least 10 people who might appreciate it, and who knows what will happen. But I have not done anything wrong, because I did what I like, and I met somebody. I like the music, and I only talk with people I'm interested in. So that's a cool thing for me. It's a it's my pleasure to meet interesting people on the internet, and this we still can do even in these strange pandemic times.
Yeah, it's more valuable now, I think, than ever, because so many other forms of communication are gone, are taken away. And I think it's the people that you see picking up a gun and running into a mall or a school don't generally tend to be the people who have dreams. They tend to be the people, for one, they tend to be the very normal looking people. It's usually people who get sort of, this is not a very good way of being undercover.
That's true. You're very distinctive. You get found out quite easily.
I'm not going to sort of, the people who are really crazy and you really need to worry about tend to try to blend in, because they've got something going on that they don't want people to know about. The people who peacock like this and sort of like sort of draw attention to themselves, generally speaking, are just imaginative, of imagination, and express it that way.
Yeah, you see me, I'm kind of more normal looking, I mean, compared to you. But it's kind of like, I don't care so much about it. For me, it's like, when once we can go out on stage, when I really want to, I want to put on, paint my fingernails and do some makeup stuff, and when I really want to go for it. But because I realized, and at the moment, you're more at home, I guess it, because for me it's kind of like I don't want to get draw attention when I don't want it. You see what I mean? I like it when I have it on stage. That's fine. But otherwise, I want to blend in. So I kind of have this dichotomy, where I kind of have this two. Like we said before, I'm more than one little thing. I'm a lover. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a worker, and I'm a son to my parents. So I have different roles to fill, and usually I kind of like when I'm in normal mode, whatever normal mode is, when I just want to be left alone and blend in a little bit,
I think as you get older as well, in my teens, I walked around looking like I do the teeth video all the time. White contact lenses, full makeup. I took my exams at school dressed that way. And then as you get older, you sort of you start to think, well, I'm going to go buy bread. I can't be bothered. I don't want to have to sort of address people saying stupid things to me when I'm walking around.
See, this is the point. It's kind of like I get it, and I have no problem with people. Actually, that's why I said, Wave Gothic Treffen in Leipzig, where you belong. I really like it, just to look around and how people kind of, oh man, how much hours they put into their appearance, and I really, really, really like that. But I'm kind of like, for me, it's kind of, it's not, I'm living in a smaller city, and it's not worth the fight if I go to buy some bread and to kind of, some grandmas looking at me. It's kind of like, I just don't. It's not a worthy fight to pick. I don't know how to put it. I want to be left alone.
It becomes about how much effort you're willing to give those people, as well as
maybe.
Like if you only have so much energy in the day, emotional energy, and if every time you leave the house you have to sort of defend yourself in a way, it becomes it just becomes self-care not to necessarily bother to get dressed up to go and buy, like you say, to buy bread, or because we've all had the situations where people have jumped us and things like that and beaten us up, and it's not fun. But yeah, I think it's more a case of, like I say, as you get older, you pick different uniforms. You have different uniforms for different things. When you first get into something, you tend to be, particularly in your teens, you tend to be 100% that thing because you need the identity, and that becomes your identity.
You try out things as well, you know. It's absolutely normal.
And you because you assume that as your identity, I think it becomes really, really important to you. And as you get older, you sort of different facets of your identity, like you say, father, son, worker, uncle. All these different sort of things become part of your personality that aren't necessarily there when you first adopt that. And so you have different uniforms and different masks for different days. And I think that's healthy. I don't think you should be one thing all the time.
Exactly. No, I'm absolutely with you. In my past, I did a lot of medieval sword fighting shows, you know. So I was, you know, at this medieval fairs, and I really liked that. You know, I'm big into yeah, take this, you know, acting is kind of my thing, and I really enjoyed that because, you know, it was my outlet. You know, I was always most often the bad guy, and people would kind of boo, and you know, it's kind of like a wrestling match you can imagine. You know, it was fun, and so I always had an outlet, but once I'm gone from there, I wanted to be left alone. You know, I also wanted peace and quiet, and this is what I meant, and I guess you also said it in your own words now. It's some fights I don't want to pick, you know. I live in a small city, and fortunately we have two universities here, so there's a lot of young people and lots of different looks, and so it's not unusual to see some peacocking people like you said. But still, once you get a little bit out of it, and in the villages, when people would be, oh, what is, you know, is he a Satanist? Does he, you know, and also, you know, with my parents, you know, I don't have to explain anything, and you know, it's okay. I'm a good son, and because they wouldn't get it, you know, this is kind of self-censorship, but it's just not worth it to hit them over the head with what I'm thinking.
At the end of the day, and if you don't want to spend it doing that,
the energy thing.
Yeah, it's, you know, it becomes draining to always be having to sort of defend yourself, and sometimes you just don't want to be looked at. Sometimes
yeah, exactly.
And not be looked at.
Yeah, you always have to be on the lookout if you kind of like, you know. I remember I lived in Budapest once, you know, in Hungary, and there I was going to clubs a lot, and I had, you know, you know, really mesh outfits and collars, and you know, really a gothic and how you say, sadomasochistic stuff on, and I really enjoyed it, but just for this moment, because you know, when I would go home and take it off, and you know, and I'm normal, whatever normal is, you know. Anyway, I guess we agree here. Usually, I just want to blend in because. It's also sometimes, I think with you it's not the case, but sometimes you have also the, how you say, the people who kind of just want to look like it, but don't really mean it. I also think, you know, okay, I tell you my theory. If I see a punk dressed up like a punk, then he's not a punk. What I mean by that is, if you have a uniform to be a punk, then you're absolutely wrong in your head. You get my point? Because when you don't know what punk is an anti-culture, is kind of exactly not conformity. And if you were a uniform that I can say, oh yeah, a punk has to be this jacket and this style of hair and this thing, and then you are a punk, then you're kind of like, you fit all the boxes, but you made it completely wrong.
Like the goths who wear one white contact lens, lots of lipstick, and then say they want to be like Marilyn Manson. And it's like, Marilyn Manson's an individual. And you want to be like another individual by being that individual, which is an oxymoron. You can't do it. Like,
good point.
It's if you want to be like him, be an individual. With grunge, I mean, you had sort of Kurt Cobain in his flannel shirts, and then all of the cock rock musicians started wearing flannel shirts.
Yeah, like, I remember. Yeah.
And it's like Motley Crue started wearing like ripped jeans and flannel shirts. And it's like, no, that's immediately anything else, anything you release now, I'm not going to trust because you've changed for the audience. And it's the same thing in society. Some people dress goth for the audience, and some people dress goth because they prefer it. And I think the people and punk and everything else, it's people. Some people see something and want to approximate it, so they can only follow the rules of what they've seen other people do, as opposed to sort of ethos, where again, punk's about being an individual and not conforming. So conforming to the dress sense of punk automatically makes you not a punk.
Exactly. This is exactly my point. So I'm kind of, I'm always, when I pass them, I'm smiling inside because they're like, okay, you know what? Find yourself and be because only you can be yourself. So be yourself. And if it is that you want to be like looking like a punk, that's absolutely fine. This is of course my prejudice. When I see them, they might be just, for them it's also a dress up or whatever. It's fine as well. I'm judging from the outside, of course, but it's sometimes very funny when we are kind of so. The other thing, but I guess you had also is when I talk more to metal musicians or something, and this is not true death metal, only this is true death metal. And like, I hate this true. What is true? I mean, okay, I don't want to swear so much, but beep it, because, this is, if we would play the same music like we played 50 years ago, we would be all still, blues music and whatever. This was the true music back then. And if you go further, then it was whatever. And so I kind of, anyway, I guess, here I'm also preaching to the choir. You don't seem to be stuck in just one genre. And like you said before, you have now 4 songs out and the 5th is coming. And each is different and you're evolving and you're getting somewhere. So maybe let's go back to your music. What is your because you release now singles and I guess later on you will make an EP or an album and release it once complete. So what's your planning for the future here?
I think there will be an EP, and then when there's a solid lineup, there will be an album. But I feel like while I'm sort of letting things flow and change with each song, I don't know if it would be cohesive enough to be an album.
That's true, yeah.
And a lot of the bands I like really have a sort of not concept album, but with Tool, for example, a lot of the albums are centered around a theme. And at the moment, everything I'm writing and releasing feels like a singular entity.
Yeah. I get it.
So I think there'll probably be an EP of the singles together, and then I will treat that as a sort of jumping off point to make the album, and then from there I'll hopefully have a solid idea of which way I want to steer things, and then maybe at the same time as I start looking at gigs next summer, maybe that's when I'll start looking at recording an album.
So you don't have to answer this question, but how many songs do you have in the pipeline? I mean, how much are you working on at the moment? If you want to answer.
There's one that's almost finished, and there's 3 that are sort of nebulous, floating around. But I think most musicians have always got sort of dozens of half-finished things that they'll pick back up if they need inspiration. But like, there's one that's almost finished, and 3 that I would say are 50% of the way there.
Okay, so I mean, there is stuff coming up, and you're not run dry yet. But it's interesting that you said the concept album, because from my perspective, it's and here I'm also I'm a victim of a time. I remember, of course, a time when you had the new album of your band and whatever, and you would listen it from top to bottom, I mean, from the beginning to the end, and you would sit down on your stereo and you would kind of really pay attention. And nowadays, with me as a DJ, I'm kind of, I like it, I don't like it, I like only this song and not that song. And so you pick and choose. I think it's a lost art form, unfortunately, and I'm not better, I'm not saying that I miss it a little bit, but you have only this time in the day, and so. And
I think it's across all art forms, in the sense that when I was a child, you had 4 channels to choose what to watch on TV, and now you have Netflix, Amazon, everything else. So you only give a show a minute, 2 minutes, and if it doesn't grab you immediately, you close it and start the next one. And I think it's the same with. Say, like the Fragile by 9 Inch Nails. When I bought that, I listened to that front to back every single time. It was never one song, and to the extent that you, because obviously people used to get paid a lot of money to pick the track listings for albums. The guy who did the Fragile did Dark Side of the Moon, I think, by Pink Floyd. The guy who chose the running order. I think you would get used to sort of the flow of the moods, whereas now you watch on YouTube or you listen on Spotify, and it's usually a playlist, so it's not usually one song from the same album that follows. And I think a lot of bands, I know Machine Head have said they won't release albums anymore. They'll only do one-shot songs, because nobody listens to them in that format anymore.
Yeah, but it's a lost art in a way.
Yeah, it's lost. It takes away a lot of the, and in the packaging as well. I mean, as you were saying, you sort of looked as if you were holding a disc for a second then. That's another element of experiencing music that I think is dead, the tactile, physical medium. It used to be that you'd get like a gatefold CD or a Tool, or great for packaging, and you'd get it and you'd sit with it and you'd hold it, and
you read the book, you read the booklet, and you appreciate the artwork and all this stuff. So this is I mean, the only thing I have to admit where I'm a little bit hopeful is that vinyl is back, and vinyl is there to stay, I think, because it's limited, but and there you have all this haptic thing, and you have this when you put down the needle, and the crackling and stuff, and it's so. And there you have also the packaging, if you have a double album or something, or a sleeve, or you can have crazy colors, or look through things, vinyl stuff. So there is still the haptic element of it, but for the other thing, because most people listen on their phones today, and just want to have one song, and and I'm not better, that's what I mean. I'm the same. But what I'm kind of going against here is with what we're doing right now. I'm because I started these talks way back, and I tried to play them on my radio channel, and I played a few episodes, but my radio boss hated it because it was for 1 hour or sometimes 2 hours, I was talking with one band or with one artist, and the listeners would drop off left and right because it was only the one artist and no music and nothing else, and so. But I think it's worthwhile because it's how do you get to know? He wanted just snippets, like 2-minute pieces or 3-minute pieces, sound bites and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that because how can I get to know somebody if I only talk for them for 3 minutes? I mean, I can talk longer and then cut everything. But like I told you in our pre-talk, I want a conversation. I want to see where we go and what we do. And it's a back and forth, and it's a And here I'm hopeful because I have not many followers, but like I said, I don't care so much anymore. But I think it's worthwhile. And if people gonna find your music and they want to get to know you, they're gonna check this or they check this and find your music. It can be in either way. And it is worthwhile to get to know somebody and to put in some time to not just like, oh, I listened for 30 seconds and what can you? We're talking now for an hour 20, and if you get 30 minutes out of this, what will you know about what we talked about? Nothing.
Yeah, and it's the same with the way bands present themselves in general because it's all tweets and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 140 characters or 160 now, right? It's nothing.
It's you're just shouting sort of phrases at people. You're not. There's no, I don't know, when I was a teenager, the bands that I got into, I wanted to read interviews in magazines. I wanted to know, and the big bands that broke, again, not to overuse the Nirvana analogy, but they sort of, there was an ethos behind grunge that was as important as the music. It was the whole sort of coming in and saying, we're going to sing about meaningful things. And we aren't going to have an image, although, as I say, my opinion on that's a bit odd. But and I think that was as much of an appeal as the music was. And if you don't have some sort of 3D idea of who a band are, then that's a huge element of what I love about music that's missing.
No, I'm with you. Like I said, I talk with a lot of artists and musicians, and some say. The music should talk for itself, and I get the point as well. I mean, the music needs to be appealing as well, but also if you like the music, like you said, the Fragile. You said, I remember the Downward Spiral, the first album from Nine Inch Nails, and I really, what is this? This is electronic, but it sounds like rock, and it's why I was kind of like, this was kind of my first steps into the electronic kind of music, because before that everything was analog and I'm just rock and metal and whatever, and so I really wanted to get to know more about it because the music was appealing, and it also spoke for itself. But like you said, when you kind of really into something, you want to get to know more. And I read also, I don't know if you remember, or if it was in the UK, Metal Hammer and all these things that are out there. And also I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but might be a little bit older than you. I grew up behind the Iron Curtain. I grew up in the Russian zone of Germany. So I was 14 as the wall came down. So it was even tougher to find music and to get, stuff. So it was something special anyway if you heard something on the radio or so. And okay, now I'm just an old man thinking back then everything was so much better. What I really like. Let me translate it. In the past, everything was better, even the future.
It's the same as the true metal thing. It makes people seem old to me because they automatically sound like the sort of parents who would say music was better in my day.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to have to bounce. I've just realized the time.
No problem. So thank you for your time. I sent you I get in touch with you and send you all the stuff Okay, thank you for your time. It was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, great to speak to you.
Bye-bye.